Part 4. You will hear a lecture about the history and innovations of the electric guitar. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. So, continuing on from last week's look at developments in contemporary music, I'm going to talk to you today about the electric guitar. The electric guitar is a very important instrument in popular music and one of the major innovations in instrument design in the 20th century. The first commercially viable electric guitar was developed in 1931 by George Beauchamp. He was working at the time for a company that produced acoustic guitars, and his invention came out of his desire to increase the volume of the guitar so it could compete with other instruments in jazz bands and dance orchestras. Beauchamp had seen the development of early record players and microphones in the 1920s, so he knew it was possible to convert sound into an electrical signal. He designed a guitar with a sensor to pick up the vibrations of the strings, and this sensor was connected to an amplifier and a speaker. The guitar he developed with this system was called the Rickenbacker frying pan. It was a steel guitar with a small round body and a long neck, and it was played on the performer's lap. The instrument was designed to be played in Hawaiian music, which was very popular at the time. It was called the frying pan because of its shape. It was very basic, but it was the first commercially successful electric guitar. Over the next few years, many companies, including the one Beauchamp worked for, developed and improved the design of electric guitars. In 1944, the Gibson Guitar Corporation released the ES-150 model, which was popular with guitarists in jazz music. This was a hollow body guitar, which meant it was shaped like an acoustic guitar, but had electronic components. It was the type of guitar played by Charlie Christian, who was one of the first musicians to make the guitar a solo instrument in jazz music. The next major development in the history of the electric guitar came in 1950, when Leo Fender released the Fender Broadcaster. This was the first mass-produced solid-body electric guitar. It was a simple, practical design, and it could produce a bright, clean sound. It was used by many guitarists in the 1950s and 1960s, including Muddy Waters, who was one of the pioneers of electric blues music. In 1952, the Gibson Guitar Corporation released the Les Paul model, which became one of the most popular electric guitars in the world. This was also a solid-body guitar, and it was designed in collaboration with Les Paul, who was a famous guitarist and inventor. Les Paul was one of the first musicians to experiment with multi-track recording, and he used the guitar to create many innovative recordings. The 1960s and 1970s saw a huge growth in the popularity of the electric guitar, and many new models were released. The Fender Stratocaster, which was introduced in 1954, became one of the most popular guitars of all time. It was played by many famous guitarists, including Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and David Gilmour. The Stratocaster had a distinctive double cutaway body shape, and it was known for its bright, clean sound. In the 1980s and 1990s, there was a trend towards more complex guitar designs with more electronic components, and more elaborate shapes. However, in recent years, there has been a return to simpler designs, with many guitarists preferring the classic designs of the 1950s and 1960s. So that's a brief overview of the history of the electric guitar. It's been a fascinating journey, and the instrument has had a huge impact on the development of music in the 20th and 21st centuries.
That is the end of part 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 4. That is the end of the listening test.